Conversation. Coco the gorilla was my first celebrity crush. I'd set up a night fantasizing about her teaching me ASL and teaching me her SEX.
Live every week like it's Shark Week. That's a thing from another thing. But unfortunately, Shark Week kind of sucks lately, does it not? I mean, it used to be about sharks, and it used to be about education. Now it's about celebrities, and they have talk shows, and there's really no merit to it other than crass commercialism. Unlike here, welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm David Thomas Lynch.
David Thomas Lynch. I like how you're really pushing the Thomas as of late.
Yeah, because to avoid confusion with that other David Lynch.
No, of course. As we bring
the other
up
ukulele backer.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was waiting with bated breath in those credits. Is there going to be another Hyle Russell? Oh my god, this is going to be a disaster. But luckily, there was all just a bunch of Hylian monikers and no other Hyle Russell. Maybe Sir Slush 1 at AOL.com backed it. I don't really know for sure. But otherwise, I was in the clear. Happy Shark Week, David. How have you been spending this Shark Week?
That's what we say on the show. Happy Shark Week. Yes, there's a war on Shark Week, and we're not having any of it.
I know. I'm glad that we can say Happy Shark Week again, because for the longest time, we just had to keep it neutral for the people who might be celebrating Squid Month or fill in the blank. You know, I just keep going with aquatic animal and unit or measurement of time and can join those together. But really, would there be any laughs to be derived out of that? Squid Month is probably the funniest I could get on such short notice. So,
yeah.
We're just...
Yeah, if you remember that Washington Post piece about the podcast that never stopped saying Shark Week, that was us.
Well, yeah, okay. I is that actually referencing something?
Or maybe it was the New York Times. I don't know, one of those fucking newspapers.
One of those fucking newspapers. They're almost all dead anyway. Who gives a shit? Newspapers. Ha! Newspapers. That's a reference. All right. So anyway, yes, Shark Week. We're bringing the energy on Shark Week. Shark Week's, when this episode goes up, it will be the last day of Shark Week. So, you know, you can only take so much riveting shark-based programming on cable TV until it just exhausts you. And we're on day 7 of Shark Week. But I thought, you know, the Conversation has never done a Shark Week episode. That's a little odd, David, because during Shark Week, the Discovery Channel's 30-year-old tradition of shark-based programming, Shark Week got so big, it became such a part of, at the very least, American culture. I don't think Shark Week has really spread around across the globe. Otherwise, rare would have timed the Hungering Deep for Shark Week. But Shark Week is such a major part of cable TV, at the least, and science-based cable TV that rival networks will have rival versions of Shark Week. They can't call it Shark Week, but I think it was maybe like Nat Geo or something.
Yeah, well, they have the Squid Month.
Squid. I want Squid Month now. August should be Squid Month. Somebody should get on that, not us. But yeah, so they've got like faux Shark Weeks, and it's just shark-based programming. And to be fair, I think the rival shark programming is better than Shark Week, because I said Shark Week has gotten tawdry. It's gotten just trying to reach. Oh, here's Shaquille O'Neal. You know, renowned shark expert, renowned marine
did they
biologist.
Call it Shaq Week?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just gotten too commercial, you know.
Yeah. Shark Week used to be about something. The reason for the season is the sharks. Now it's about Shaquille O'Neal, and at least Eli Roth isn't hosting it again this year. But so Shark Week counter-programming is a thing that exists. So I said, you know what? If I have all these issues with how Shark Week has degenerated into what it is today, I should do something about it. I should put up or shut up. I have a program. It's a podcast about Donkey Kong. But you know what? That gives me ample room to do something. So we're doing a Shark Week episode, David. And I invited you on this episode because I didn't think anybody else would say yes. But I know you, David Thomas Lynch, you have... you might have an affinity for sharks. I don't really know. But I thought out of the entire staff, you might have one. And that was good enough for me.
Yeah, they're all right, I guess.
Mm-hmm. They are all right. So anyway, thank you for listening to The Kongversation, by the way. Don't forget you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn. You follow us on YouTube if you want. We're on SoundCloud. Really, we're just split across all these platforms. And
Napster, probably.
No, I don't think we're on Well, I'm sure people could just upload us to Napster. If Napster is still a program, people can upload things to.
LimeWire, maybe.
Whatever. We're all over the place. Stretched out so thin. And anyway, so yeah, do that if you like the show. Probably not this episode. This episode will not make you like the show. But if you listen to another episode after this, if you give us a second chance and you like what you hear there, then...
Maybe that bear episode.
The bears, yes, bear. I hope this isn't all caps the sharks episode as far as the quality goes. That bears episode, holy shit. Anyway, okay. So anyway, we're also on social media, Facebook, which we could probably buy based on the stock plunge today. We're recording this on Thursday, July 26th, and Facebook shares dropped by 20% today or something, which is the largest drop in history. So back us on Patreon, dkvi.com/Patreon, and we can maybe do a hostile takeover of Facebook, and then just turn the whole thing into a Donkey Kong social network. We're also on Twitter, and that's it right now, I guess. I mean, we have a Tumblr, we have an Instagram. They're never updated. They exist, though.
We had a MySpace. I don't think that's still a thing.
Did we have a MySpace?
I think somebody, or maybe it was me, set up a semi-official one.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Back when the site was Donkey Kong Universe. Yeah.
Yes. I think we had a live journal group.
Oh my god. Alright, well anyway, we're all over the place, DK Vine and The Kongversation, so be sure to follow us where applicable. Alright, David. The Donkey Kong universe.
I'm aware of it.
They exist. They're intertwined. And you know, when I was conceiving this episode, I was we should talk about the sharks of the Donkey Kong universe. I realized we have so many sharks to discuss in comparison to other video game series. Because I looked it up, I was well, I'm sure Mario has a lot of shark enemies, right? And they really don't. I looked it up on Super Mario Wiki, the invaluable Mario fan-generated resource, and I could only find sparse references to sharks. There are shark enemies in Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy. They jump out of the water and they have boxing gloves. But there really aren't many sharks. There are more eels in Mario than sharks. Of course, you've got bloopers and Cheep Cheeps. No sharks. It's so...
Right, but we could cover bloopers on the Squid Month episode.
We could, because they've appeared in many cameo games over the years. Yeah, I just found it strange because when pop culture depicts dangerous maritime creatures, sharks are really at the top of the list. You might have, in more farcical, fanciful, fantasy-based stuff, the Kraken. You might have a giant squid, but by and large, sharks are the go-to, and it's been that way since Steven Spielberg's Jaws came out. Jaws really set the tone for more than 40 years now. So it's just weird to me that Mario, in the amount of time he's been underwater swimming around, has never really developed major shark-based enemies. And I know like there's it's Sushi, I guess, would be a shark. Sushi from Super Mario 64. That's a Mario-based shark. And then he would later appear in the Mario Party series as well. But yeah, Sushi, I guess, would be it. And they first appeared in Super Mario 64. But obviously, the eel from that game was the one that took off. So, yeah, okay. Anyway, but going back to the Donkey Kong universe, it takes place on an archipelago. All of these games pretty much take place on islands.
Sorry, I'm just looking up Sushi on Mario Wiki, and yeah, he was only in Mario Party Advance, which Donkey Kong was not in, so we don't have to acknowledge it.
He was in Mario Party 2. You could ride a sushi shark, or a sushi type shark. I don't know if sushi is a
Oh, here we go for the species. See. Okay, there we go. Never mind. I stand corrected. Sorry for doubting you.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
an individual character called Sushi.
So yeah, in Mario Party 2, you could ride Sushi the shark across the board in Pirate Land. The only thing is, he didn't give you a choice. You pretty much had to do it, and you had to pay him. And the price would rise by 1 coin every time somebody rode him, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, Sushi's a fucking asshole. So anyway, but yeah, the Donkey Kong universe, they all take place on the same island chain for the most part. Most of the islands are tropical, so sharks are just a natural fit. And there have been quite a few sharks and shark species that have mostly been antagonists over the years, with, I think, only one exception. So, David, let's get into it. Why don't we? So, obviously, Donkey Kong Country was the start. And 1994, Coral Capers introduced both varieties of shark. And these would be the main sharks in the Donkey Kong series up until 2010. And that, of course, is Chomps and Chomps Jr. Now, they're not really spectacular as far as enemies go. All they do is swim back and forth in the same pattern. They're really not that imposing of a threat. Like anything in this game, I am a fan and I am fond of these character designs. Which is basically just realistic animal with giant cartoon eyes. But yeah, they're like Donkey Kong's underwater enemies, the Kong's underwater enemies. There are a lot more imposing and threatening and challenging underwater enemies than the Chomps. There's Lockjaw, of course, from Donkey Kong Country 2, and Snapjaw. Donkey Kong Land had Nemo, which in my mind is still the most terrifying enemy one can face underwater in a Donkey Kong game. Nemo was he chased you across the stage, and it was just one of the scariest experiences. I think that stage, the Nemo chase stage, would be the equivalent of Stop and Go Station in Donkey Kong Land. Just a terror-driven experience.
About Irate 8 from off of Tropical Freeze.
What was that?
About Irate 8 from off of Tropical Freeze.
Oh, Squidagus. Sorry. Yeah,
that one.
Squidagus in Irate 8. Yeah, no, that's definitely along the same lines. Yeah, that would probably be the most terrifying enemy underwater in a Donkey Kong game.
We can save that for the Octopus Week episode.
Octopus Week. Now, would that fall in Squid Month, or would that just be adjacent? Would that be in, like, September?
Yeah, I guess it could be a part of Squid Month.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we should schedule Squid Month then.
I mean, they're in Splatoon, so they're, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should schedule Squid Month where, it's guaranteed to have a month with 31 days. Because if we're going to not just be focusing on squids, we're going to be focusing on octopus, we're going to be focusing on krakens, all sorts of tentacled creatures. We're really going to have the most maximum amount of days. Like, February would just be terrible for Squid Month because it would really be selling all of our tentacled friends short, and you don't want to do that. So anyway, Chomps. Yeah, they're pretty bland, and the problem with Chomps is that Engard can easily dispatch them, and they make big enough targets that Engard can just basically run up against them. They're like bite sizes. The small fish that in the game pose more of a threat than Chomps. So I don't know. Like I like them, but I recognize as far as a gameplay challenge, they're kind of shit. But let's talk about Chomps anyway, because this Shark Week counter-programming, as much as we want to talk about Squidicus, David, we have to fight those urges. We have to fight the urge like teenagers fighting their sexual desires at a Christian-based Bible camp. We have to fight the simmering urges down below, David, and we have to talk about Chomps and not Lockjaw.
I'm sure we can get a Squid Month episode about that.
So anyway, Chomps, they are... So when coming up with this episode, I had to actually take a long, hard look, not to be confused with what happens when we're thinking about squids at Bible camp. I had to take a long, hard look at the sharks and determine what kind of sharks are they. And most of them are silly cartoon characters, so they don't really have a one-to-one correlation with nature. But looking at Chomps, I realize they're probably supposed to be tiger sharks. And I never really put that together. They have the corresponding stripes across them, especially Chomps Jr. They're very stripedy. And of course, I know my species of sharks because as a kid, I ate shark bite fruit snacks. And that was an educational experience. That was more educational than Shark Week is nowadays. So I'm well versed in the types of sharks, and Chomps and Chomps Juniors, to me, they're tiger sharks. But, David, because they're part of the Kremlin crew, they're forces utilized by the Kremlin crew, I would argue that they are tiger sharks actually with their evolution influenced by the Kremlin source energies that were once beneath Crocodile Isle before the accidental genocide. Do you have any issues with that interpretation?
I mean, they could just be trying to kill you because that's what sharks do.
But do they? Because every time Shark Week rolls around, David, there are all these people who chime in. Sometimes they chime in. Sometimes a marine biologist actually sneaks into Shark Week when they're not inviting, I don't know, Avril Lavigne or something on Shark After Dark. Sometimes an actual marine biologist will make a very, very split-second cameo, like out of focus in the background, and they'll say, actually, sharks rarely attack humans.
I mean, to be fair, humans are murderous assholes too, so... You know.
Yeah. Like, you know, you get all these statistics, like, you are more likely to be murdered by a grasshopper than you are...
That just makes me scared of grasshoppers.
Grasshoppers are terrifying. I'm sorry, if you're walking in grass and a grasshopper starts hopping around, you don't know where that little son of a bitch is going to go. He could go up your leg, he could like land on you, and then you go inside, and then surprise, you have a hopping madman in your house, little tiny miniature spring-heeled Jack jumping up and down. It's terrifying. I don't want that. I don't want that in my house. I don't want that in my yard. Get away from me, little... Oh, God. Anyway, yeah, so... Marine biologists will point out sharks are actually not that dangerous so long as you're not bleeding all up in the water or there aren't some, circumstances that would provoke it to attack you. You're probably safe. Yes, humans do get bit by sharks, but it's rare. So, anyway, yeah, I don't even know. Why did I even bring this up? Something about, okay.
That was me. I brought it up.
Okay, all right. I don't know what your point was because I already forgot because I got hung up on grasshoppers.
Sharks are trying to kill you. For some
sharks
reason.
are trying to,
yeah.
Well, okay. So my interpretation, though, of all of the non-Kremlin enemies in the Donkey Kong Country trilogy and the Donkey Kong Land trilogy and Donkey Kong 64 and the Payon games, is that they're all part of the Kremlin crew, and it's pretty much like inferred in the instruction booklet and in other pieces of literature that these are part of the Kremlin crew, even if they're not Kremlins. They are wildlife native to Crocodile Isle, even if that's a retcon, that was established in Donkey Kong Country 2. So, my interpretation is these are Kremlin-affiliated sharks. I think Croctopus is what seals it for me, and I know we should save this for Squid Week, or Squid Month, and I apologize. But Croctopus, to me, it's an octopus, but it's called a Croctopus. Ergo, it has to be Kremlin-based in some form or fashion. So, I think Croctopus is the tipping point. So, that helps me infer that Chomps and Chomps Jr. are just tiger sharks that were evolved slightly differently thanks to the Kremlin source. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because only weirdos like us care about this shit. And even then, I think it's only me and I just force all of you to go along with it. So I apologize.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Chomps Jr., David.
Son of Chomps.
Son of Chomps, maybe. I don't know. Is it? This is a question. I just always assumed they were younger versions of Chomps, kind of like mini Neckies are to Neckies. But looking at them, I mean, Chomps Jr. does have a bit of a different design. Is Chomps Jr. a different type of Chomp, and it's just called Chomps Jr. because they're smaller, or are they actually going to mature into the larger Chomps? I want to hear what the live stream chat has to say about this too, because I feel like this should be the debate of Shark Week 2018. I don't think Shaquille O'Neal is going to be talking about it tonight, unfortunately, but maybe our live stream chat can weigh in. David, until then, what do you have to say about this topic?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if it wasn't, why would they call it Chomps Jr. if it wasn't the son of Chomps?
Yeah, but Donkey Kong Jr. might be...
Yes, it's the son of Donkey
modern
Kong.
Donkey... No, but it might be the modern Donkey Kong, but he's the grandson of Cranky Kong. Ergo, he's not actually Cranky Kong's son. There's a missing generation if you follow that interpretation.
Maybe Chomps Jr. is the adopted grandson, or maybe grandson is 2 words. Of Chomps.
Yeah.
And then when they grow up, they drop the junior, and then I don't know, I guess Chomp Senior just dies. I don't know.
Chomp Senior just
retires.
Gets dentures. Like a shark with dentures would be a good next iteration of Chomps, like a cranky version of Chomps. That would be great if Cranky Kong would get his own solo platformer, and all of the enemies he fights are just geriatric versions of regular Donkey Kong Country enemies. That would actually be spectacular. And now I'm disappointed in myself because I know I'll never see it in my lifetime. Or if I do, it will be when I'm geriatric.
I'm sure somebody at Retro is listening to this.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we know that Craig Duncan is listening, so maybe if Rare buys Nintendo back, then... or vice versa, I don't know.
If Rare buys Nintendo back. Yeah, and it's specifically going to be Rare. It's not going to be Microsoft. It's going to be Rare.
All right.
Rare will own Nintendo, but not Microsoft.
And by extension, yes, and then they can make this Cranky Kong Country game we're proposing.
I like this idea that Rare secretly will own Nintendo, but they're going to keep it from Phil Spencer and just keep it off the books. It's yeah. This is going to be my own personal canon, my own personal reality. So checking in with the live stream, they haven't weighed in one damn thing about this Chomps and Chomps Jr. debate. They're really letting me down, just like Discovery Channel is with Shark Week. Captain Cheesebag does say Donald Chomps Jr. is the son of Chomp's first wife, Ivana, which does not help whatsoever, Captain Cheesebag. Whatsoever. That comment is just completely irrelevant to what David and I were trying to suss out. But thank you. Thank you anyway. Jesus. Chomps Jr. does have the weird, hole or gash in his tail fin. And it kind of reminds me of the sharks in Sea of Thieves in that I just assumed it was battle damage. or like some predator took a bite out of him at some point. But yeah, I'm going to choose to believe that Chomps Jr. grows into Chomps because I feel like that's just a cleaner interpretation of all of this. And
yeah, it's like Pokemon.
It's like, yeah, it's exactly like Pokemon, except
what Chomps Jr. is evolving. Dun, 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 except
it's exactly like Pokemon, except the difference here is that we're some of the only people in the world who know who Chomps and Chomps Jr. are, and there are people out there, thousands of people who can name every single Pokemon, probably in a Pokedex order. So that's the difference. Even Retro didn't.
I can at least name them in the Pokerap order.
Well, even Retro Studios, the people in charge of making Donkey Kong Country, couldn't remember that there was already a Donkey Kong baddie named Chomps. So, let's talk about this. The Chomp plants. So, in Donkey Kong Country Returns, Donkey Kong got his own version. The Kongs got their own version of the Piranha plant. And, to be fair, this is perfectly acceptable because in the lore or the fantasy of exploring a dangerous tropical jungle, the man-eating carnivorous plant, it's a staple. It's a staple of the kind of the hokey serial adventure stuff that Donkey Kong Country riffs on. And the ones that Retro created were stylistically different enough from Piranha plants. They were a little bit more dangerous looking. They kind of look like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, just a bit. But they're a lot more kind of naturalistic, and I think they got a big like goofy tongue and teeth and drooling, lips. But yeah, they fit in well with the Donkey Kong style. They called them Chomp plants, David. They called them Chomp plants, and this bugged the shit out of me in 2010. Like, when people ask, like, why didn't the people who like the Obama coalition from 2008, why didn't they vote in the midterm elections in 2010? Because they were all demoralized that Retro was using the name Chomp for an enemy that wasn't a shark. That's why. Political scientist. You don't know anything. So, obviously this isn't Plant Week, so we're not going to get too hung up on these guys, but I do want to point out that the Chomp plants, while they were established and introduced in Donkey Kong Country Returns, they had very, very similar plants appeared in both Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze from 2003, of course the Shockwave-based game on CandyStand.com that is archived on DKVine, if you have a computer that can still use Flash, and they have plants, man-eating plants in there that look almost exactly like the ones Retro created for Returns. Was Retro referencing Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze?
No, they were referencing Conker's Pocket Tales, clearly.
Conker's Pocket Tales, right. Because Conker's Pocket Tales was actually the first DKU game to feature these creatures. And I think in that game, in the instruction booklet, or somewhere in the literature, they were referred to as terrible tulips. But I've retconned that in the fanon to state they're actually variations of the chomp plant called tulip chomps. So it all works out, David. But I've also reconciled in my head, and now in your head, that the reason they're called chomp plants is they were named after the Kremlin crew based sharks because of the teeth. So ergo that is why they're called
they're called chomps because they use the teeth to chomp you.
Well, there's that, but
they were
that's
thinking,
not
hey, you know what else? Chomps, sharks. Hey, are there sharks called chomps? Hey, let's call them chomp.
It's kind of like, okay, it's kind of, there's another situation similar to this where there's batteries in Banjo-Tooie called Baza batteries, and in Donkey Kong Country 3, the Barracudas are called Baza. So I just surmised that the battery was named after the Barracuda.
Right, like how there's a fish called Duracell.
Okay, well, imagine. See, okay, so Energizer. There's the Energizer Bunny, right? So, because he keeps going and going and going. So I imagine in the Baza battery commercials, the Barracuda keeps going and going and going until it gets its prey and tears it apart. So, and then they set it to the Heart song too. So, really effective commercials.
Much like how the Energizer used Metallica's battery. I may have just made that up.
One other note about Chomps and Chomps Jr., because there's apparently just a wealth of discussion to be had about these two lame-ass villains. They were actually going to appear in Donkey Kong Racing. If you go back and watch that trailer, which I know it's tough because it's pre-YouTube, so all the versions of the Donkey Kong Racing trailer are not in HD. But if you can go back and watch like the clearest versions of it, you can see both Chomps and Chomps Jr. Swimming around. So they were both going to appear in Donkey Kong Racing. Whether or not you could ride them will be a mystery lost to time, because they probably never got that far in conceiving design elements for the game. But the elder version of Chomps did appear in the underwater portions of Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, the racing game we ultimately did get, and the one that disappointed most everybody. Not most everybody. I just got
I liked it.
Well, okay, you liked it, and I just got a message on Twitter, a private message this week, asking for a Donkey Kong Barrel Blast Spotlight episode, because that's one of their favorite games. So nobody's done that yet.
Great, you found my Twitter account.
Nobody's done that yet with Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze, though, and that disappoints me. I can't wait for... This the 15th anniversary of Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze, David. Maybe we should be doing that this fall. This November.
Or not.
It's coming up.
Or maybe not.
Look, we're doing a Shark Week episode about the Donkey Kong universe, David. If we can do that, we can do anything.
Very well. I'll probably be on that episode too.
You probably will, because Cameron sure as shit won't want to do it, and
I think my computer can still run it.
You're gonna go off the grid. I can see it now. I won't be able to get 3 months will go by. What happened to David? I haven't heard. Has David been online? Is he okay? Has anybody checked? We'll be calling you. No answer. We'll hire a private detective. They'll find all this evidence you planted where you tried to fake your death. You'll be living in a cabin somewhere, I don't know, up in Canada. Actually, props to you. If you do this, if you fake your death just to avoid appearing on a Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze podcast, then I won't be mad.
Well, it didn't work for this episode.
I did find you. It wasn't that hard though, because you kind of suck at going off the grid. Because there's only 2 David Lynches. 3.
Well, 3.
Three. There's the other David Lynch, who backed Ukulele, and then there's the guy, the filmmaker who does the weird auteur stuff, and then there's you. So I'll just I'll find the other 2, and then I'll find you. It won't be that hard. Let's move on. We're still going to be in the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, but we're moving on to Donkey Kong Country 2. And I already mentioned the formidable enemies in Donkey Kong Country 2 that were underwater: Lockjaw and Snapjaw, the piranhas, Puffed Up, which could explode and send its spines, its pointy quills at you. And they were a lot more deadly than Chomps. But the deadliest underwater creature in Donkey Kong Country 2 is one you never faced in any stage. And that is the sharks that ate K. Rool after Donkey Kong uppercutted him out of the flying croc. So, we don't know what kind of sharks these are. And I know some people kind of guess or speculate, and with good reason, that they might be Chomps, because there's a Donkey Kong Country game, obviously. But we never actually see anything besides their fins sticking out of the water. So I don't really like the idea that they're Chomps, because I don't like the idea that K. Rool's own sharks would turn on him in such a manner. I was always a kid who liked to imagine that the bad guys never really fought amongst their own ranks. And I know they're bad guys, and of course they would, but I don't know. I like a unified front. When you're a kid and you see things in like black and white, and you got good guys and you got bad guys, why would the bad guys turn on each other? They're bad guys. They got to team up to fight the good guys. That never, like, when I actually like got into like Batman comics and I like saw the Joker would just like indiscriminately murder his henchmen or other Batman villains, and I'd be like, Joker, why are you doing this? They're on your side. Not realizing,
that's what makes him so bad.
Well, right, exactly. But when you're a kid, you don't really understand the psychosis of a murderous clown. You don't, because like, Joker, why are you attacking Mr. Freeze? You guys are on the same side. Batman, go fight him. If you team up with Mr. Freeze, you'll have your clown gas, and he'll have his freezy gun. Batman won't stand a chance. Think this through, man. Anyway.
Well, maybe that's why the good guys... Well, I mean, that's why Batman keeps beating them, because, I don't know, Joker keeps murdering his henchmen, and, well, the Justice League always... Actually...
Yeah.
I think about it. Superheroes probably spend more time fighting each other. Batman v Superman,
right,
and all that.
Yes, the Captain America, the Civil War.
Dual Blade, fuck Batman.
Yeah, I like how after like the backlash of the Zack Snyder portion of the DC extended universe, and DC like launches their own version of Netflix, we got to show you people that we're lighter and zippier, and we got to show them we've learned our lesson. Let's show them this Titans trailer. Kids love the Teen Titans,
like the
cartoon,
Teen Titans Go movie coming out.
right. So here's a live action version of the Titans, kids, and then Robin like breaks the guy's neck. Fuck Batman. It's like, what the fuck? Speaking of Batman, there's a Batman villain called Orca, and she's literally a gangster who is a giant orca.
Well, we can save that for Orca Week.
Yeah. Batman doesn't have any shark-based enemies because he has the bat shark repellent, right?
What?
Yes, no, he does have great white. Okay, great white shark. I forgot about him. Great white shark is a kind of forgettable Batman villain. But he's not a shark. He's just this dude who, speaking of Mr. Freeze, like took this like white collar criminal and gave him frostbite, and then the dude's nose fell off, and then he just started calling himself the Great White Shark because he was like a I don't know if he's a loan shark or something, but yeah, it's pretty stupid. Meanwhile, there's a Batman villain called Orca, and she's literally just a giant orca. It's much more memorable than the dude who lost his nose because Mr. Freeze made him too cold.
And then a bunch of sharks ate up K. Rool at the end of Donkey Kong Country.
Bunch of sharks ate up K. Rool. Okay, so I know I brought this up many times in the past. Donkey Kong Country 2 Spotlight episode, K. Rool, character witness, but there is a brief point in time after you beat K. Rool in the main game, and then you have like the ending and the credits, and you knew there was more game because there was still the Lost World, but for this window of time between beating K. Rool and finishing the Lost World, you actually believed, if you were a gullible kid like me, that K. Rool was dead. He was eaten by sharks. You saw it happen. And he was healed by the Kremlin sword, sure, but that is still the second best ending in a Donkey Kong Country game. The first ending being the real ending of Donkey Kong Country 2 and the whole accidental genocide. But like that was some hardcore shit to process as a kid, because you've seen Bowser fall in lava time and again, but there's something kind of toothless, no pun intended, about Bowser falling in lava. And because it wasn't until much later that they established the whole Bowser skeleton thing, dry Bowser. He had his flesh burned off, which was established in the new Super Mario Brothers games. But in
his
the
flesh burned off, and now he wants to play tennis.
Right, but don't worry, the fleshy Bowser is still running around because hijinks. Because
I don't know, chest of time.
Yeah. Ultimately, none of this shit matters because these are just bland character scans. Look, we have 7 different Marios running around. Nothing matters anymore. We can sell all these as different toys. Anyway, yeah, there's a difference between Bowser just falling off screen in an orange pool of liquid and seeing K. Rool getting devoured by sharks and hearing the munching sound and his arms flailing about in the water. It was pretty intense. And part of me, very small part of me, because I love K. Rool, but a very small part of me likes to imagine what would have been had that actually been the end of K. Rool and you just fight Clubba in the Lost World.
Well, why would you be fighting him? Because you gave him money, so he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, but, he's still, I don't know. Because if K. Rool was devoured by sharks, then Clubba would be like, hey, power vacuum, I'm the leader of the Kremlings now. Like when Kylo Ren poked through Snoke and Snoke fell apart. Exactly like that. Clubba's like, no, I'm the leader now. Pew, pew, pew. And then Luke's ghost shows up and it's like, and then Luke dies. I like that movie, by the way. I'm not mocking any of that. I Last Jedi, it's my favorite Star Wars movie. Come at me, nerds. Well, don't actually come at me, but they ruined the Space Wizards. Well, they
ruined the Sacred Space Wizard movie.
I know the Space Wizards were pretty ruined afterwards. Also, Admiral
How could
Akbar
this character
died.
change in 30 years?
Admiral Akbar died, and he is not a shark, but he's an underwater critter. So he's like a clam man or something. A lobster boy. I don't know what he is. Mon Calamari, which sounds like it should be part of Squid Month, but he's not a squid because he's a crab person.
I don't know. He's like. No, never mind. Never mind. The extended universe isn't canon anymore, so it could be whatever. So maybe he could be an Inkling.
All right.
I'm sure
so anyway,
some book that explains that. That's very much not the case, but I'll have to wait for Akbar's Star Wars story.
Let's get off Admiral Akbar and get back to the Great White Shark from off of Batman, because I'm checking in with the live stream chat, and Godzilla Guy 92, aka Andre, aka the writer of a Donkey Kong Country erotica, which, by the way, I've not read yet, but I would hope Chomps is in there, and he lives up to his name in a very unfortunate incident involving teeth. That would be very pleasurable if he didn't apply that much pressure, but him being Chomps, but then maybe the Kremlingsaurus heals it, and then it's a happy ending. Godzilla Guy 92, if this is not in your erotica, please pen a sequel. He says the interesting part about Great White Shark is that he got himself sent to Arkham on purpose by faking insanity, thinking it would be a slap on the wrist compared to Blackgate, which is the penitentiary in Gotham City for those who aren't criminally insane, only to be driven legitimately insane by the inmates and locale. And I get that would be interesting if that I feel like that's the plot of like 7 Batman stories at this point. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's been done. Like most other Batman stories, it's been done. You know what Batman story has not been done? That's Batman marrying Catwoman. Because they were going to get married and then they called it off because DC doesn't have any courage anymore as far as fundamentally altering the Batman. But it doesn't matter because I'm not buying comics right now because I'm buying a Banjo-Kazooie statue for the next year instead. Whew. Okay, so let's speaking of Banjo-Kazooie, good segue. Who are we going to talk about in Banjo-Kazooie? Well, Snacker, yeah, obviously. Snacker, I feel like this is a cheat because Snacker is like the most well-known shark in the Donkey Kong universe. He is the most iconic. He is the most memorable shark, just because of the terror he induced in many the young gamer playing Banjo-Kazooie. And going back and facing off with Snacker now is nothing. It's child's play. Sea of Thieves really built up a tolerance for the spontaneous shark attack. In me, at least. If you play Sea of Thieves and you go back and play Banjo-Kazooie, turns out Snacker's not scary at all because he always telegraphs his arrival because he always has to like send quips your way. He doesn't shut up, Snacker. Where the sharks...
Well, he does eventually when they run out of lines.
Yeah. But, the sharks in Sea of Thieves, you can be swimming along, and then all of a sudden you just have a bite taken out of you, and it comes out of nowhere. Like, that's scary. And it will happen 7 times during a stream. If you watch any of our Stream of Thieves, which you can watch archived on YouTube, you can also watch live on Mixer at dkvine.com/Mixer. But yeah, Snacker isn't scary anymore, but 20 years ago, Snacker was terrifying. And, Snacker is a bit different from the Chomps. Well, we don't know if the Chomps can speak or not, because, Naughties can speak, but we don't know if Chomps and Chomps Jr. can speak. But Snacker is fully anthropomorphic. Maybe not fully. He can speak and taunt you, but he's not like wearing clothes or anything. It's not like he's got a monocle or he's got a top hat or something. He doesn't have one of the cigarette, like Audrey Hepburn's cigarette holders or something. I don't know why I'm just picturing like Mr. Peanut now when I think of anthropomorphic characters. But Snacker, he's fully nude, but he does talk, and he does like cheese and crackers, which I used to really love until I figured out I was lactose intolerant. Which you would think eventually, like association, like it would be reverse. Like Pavlov effect, where after having such crippling bouts of diarrhea after eating plates of cheese and crackers, I would eventually like stop associating cheese and crackers as a good thing. But it took me a while. It took me realizing I was lactose intolerant and not a sufferer of chronic IBS to realize, hey, wait, I've got to stop eating cheese and crackers. But Snacker apparently isn't lactose intolerant. Or maybe he is. We've never actually seen him eating cheese and crackers. And then he would just defecate wildly in Treasure Trove Cove's otherwise pristine waters. Which
maybe
really
it's just a metaphor.
Yeah.
Because he's actually trying to eat a bear and bird.
Right. That is true. That is a metaphor. But why would he use a metaphor for something he's never eaten?
Unless he plans on kidnapping Banjo and using his nipples to milk him. You could do that right?
Wait, Banjo's a male,
making cheese out of I don't know. You can milk anything with nipples.
Well, okay. As much as I appreciate a good 20-year-old Ben Stiller reference,
whatever. Well, apparently it's true.
Well, okay, no. You can milk a male. I think you have to have the right amount of hormone. You need the right amount of hormones to cause a male to lactate. You can do it. You can do it. We have nipples. You can do it. It just requires the right cocktail, the right pharmaceutical brew to really get the milk shooting out of those things. And really, why would Snacker go to all that effort?
For cheese and crackers? Duh.
For cheese and crackers, okay, but...
And also torture porn.
Yeah, well... Too bad Eli Roth is not hosting this year's Shark Week. He hosted 3 Shark Weeks in a row. Really, Eli Roth, the torture porn guy, the guy who just makes really disgusting movies like the cannibal one, that are just insulting to everybody. That Eli Roth, okay. Sharks, sure. And in that case, I do much prefer Shaquille O'Neal as my Shark Week host, because at the very least, Shaquille O'Neal, he's been a rapping genie. He's been the Superman spinoff character Steel, and I can't think of any sharks that Superman has fought. But correct me if I'm wrong, live stream chat. Correct me if I'm wrong, Godzilla Guy 92.
There's been at least one it's got over 1,001 issues of Action Comics alone. I'm sure at least one of them involved punching a shark.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not disputing that Superman has ever punched a shark. Like it would be ridiculous if in his 80-year history he's never once punched a shark. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it's happened. You could probably do a Google image search right now of Superman punching a shark, and it would come right up. I'm not going to do that because I'm talking about Snacker, and Snacker eating the lactose that came out of Banjo's nipples to make cheese with, to therefore put on a cracker. But Snacker, I interpret Snacker, much as I interpret the Chomps and Chomps Juniors to be affiliated with K. Rool and the Kremlin crew. I associate Snacker to kind of have an alliance with Gruntilda. Because, I mean, it's kind of played like fast and loose who actually works with Gruntilda within like the worlds of the lair. But we know Konga does, because Konga later gets a job at Witchy World, running the Big Top. So he's like the ringmaster. So I would imagine Snacker has an alliance with Gruntilda. That would also explain why Snacker can magically teleport whenever you're in the water, and then he beams away whenever you are not you, the Mr. Pants character, but Banjo and Kazooie, who you, the actual person at home, are controlling.
Or maybe it was just hard to make a constantly present AI shark in 1998. So they just decided, hey, let's just make it disappear. You can't see it. And yeah, they're not paying attention. What? I'm British, because I'm rare.
David Thomas Lynch, I feel like you're being far too rational for what I'm trying to get at. I feel like the other David Lynch, either the ukulele backer or the auteur filmmaker who made Twin Peaks and Eraserhead. I feel like that David Lynch or the other David Lynch would be like, yes, I like that idea, Hyle. That would explain that technical limitation.
Fine. The game's bad draw distance was caused by Gruntilda's magic.
Yes! Yeah, like magic! Wizards! At least, space wizards!
Next you're going to tell me kryptonite fog from Superman 64.
I'm sure there were lots of sharks past that kryptonite fog that we could not see. But I'm saying Snacker disappeared like Luke Skywalker from Off of The Last Jedi because this space wizard juice ran out. And Gruntilda gave him the space wizard juice and then gives him more space wizard juice. Was that space wizard juice milked from the nipple of a male bear? Maybe. We don't know. There could be all sorts of motives going on behind the scenes with these Banjo-Kazooie characters that we're not privy to. We know the Panther King really likes cow milk, so why can't Snacker like bear milk? And maybe he prefers male bear. He's really specific about the bear milk he likes. I want it from a male bear, full of the proper hormones and or estrogen. So here's a question, David. Was the shark in Rusty Bucket Bay, was that also Snacker?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. Because if there, rule of thumb, I would say, if there's one of something or two of something, then it's probably not a species. Sharker was such a Sharker. What the fuck is wrong with me? Sharker. Snacker was such. Sharker would be like the
Snacker's
shittiest
brother,
name.
Sharker.
It's like a
Snarker's
quack, it's like a quacks and squawks situation. Clearly, no. I think Snacker was such a memorable character that to suddenly have another shark appear in Rusty Bucket Bay and have it not be Snacker would be a disservice to Snacker. And if it is the Snacker in Rusty Bucket Bay, which this shark does not speak in Rusty Bucket Bay, but if it is Snacker, that would support the argument that Snacker is in cahoots with Gruntilda, because Gruntilda could beam him from Treasure Trove Cove to Rusty Bucket Bay to serve her purposes. And I'm sure Snacker just didn't want to talk much because the water's filthy, and he was just trying to get the job done and finally munch on Banjo and Kazooie. So yeah, I'm surprised Snacker has not resurfaced more in the Banjo series, and I guess the only reason why he hasn't is it's kind of hard to incorporate a water-based villain on a series that primarily takes place on land. It's the Aquaman problem. Aquaman's part of the Justice League, but what is Aquaman going to do 95% of the time in the Justice League? Yeah, I mean, you can invent reasons why Aquaman needs to be there. And look, I'm not shit talking Aquaman, David. I am not shit talking Aquaman. I don't think the trailer did much for me for the new movie, I'll have to say. I thought Shazam was a lot more appealing as a trailer goes. But yeah, I like the concept. I haven't
seen any of those. I just watched the Titans trailer to make sure that fuck Batman was real.
It was real, yeah. It was real, and it was spectacularly bad. But Aquaman, I like the concept of Aquaman. Aquaman is a superhero for the ocean, and you can have a lot of fantastical settings. I like things set in the ocean. Sea of Thieves is my favorite current game. Oceans are great. Shark Week is great. Aquaman is great. But you take Aquaman out of the water and you put him in a league of justice. And it's like, why is Aquaman gonna be fighting Martians on Mars when there's
outrageous
oceans?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like Aquaman. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I'm just talking about Aquaman. But okay. Snacker would be the Aquaman of Gruntilda's villainous stable, because Snacker's memorable. Snacker can be great, but Snacker's not going to be doing much in let's say Witchy World, or I mean, he could be in the dunk tank, but like the high dive or whatever. But it's just could be a superfluous appearance of Snacker.
Could have worked him until, I don't know, Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Maybe
you could have, but I like that they went with completely new elements in Jolly Roger's Lagoon. You know, when we get a new Banjo
to be fair, when the level's like 90% water, and so having a shark chase you constantly would have been
right. It would have been cool if Snacker was like the boss fight instead of Lord Wu Fack. Although, you know, Snacker's pretty small in comparison to the large bosses.
Throw a few eggs at him.
But Gruntilda could have done the Rita Repulsa thing and made her monster grow. But when we get a new Banjo-Kazooie game, it would be cool if Snacker had his revenge and you finally like confronted Snacker and faced the fear from 1998 and took him head on.
They should have made Snacker's Revenge for the 3DS, the top-down platformer.
Right, exactly. They should have. That was a missed opportunity. Probably because after Diddy Kong Racing DS, they were not allowed to do any more 3D or DS games. But any of the DS family, it was all over after that. Well, there's Viva Pinata, I guess. Did the Viva Pinata one come out after Diddy Kong Racing DS? I always forget
I forget.
Okay.
I think so, yeah, because I think Diddy Kong Racing DS was the first one. That's why I had so many like touchscreen and microphone gimmicks.
Oh yeah,
and then like this Viva Pinata Pocket Paradise, so until we lay off the gimmicks.
Right. So that's why Diddy Kong Racing DS was terrible. We've established that. Good.
It was okay.
Now there's also another shark in Banjo-Kazooie, and I'm not talking about Rusty Bucket Bay and that Mamie Snacker. I'm talking about Clanker. Clanker is kind of a shark. He's not a real shark, just like Pinocchio was not a real boy, but for all intents and purposes, he was a shark. He was modeled after a shark. He was a robot, bio-organic, cybernetic trash compactor shaped to be a shark. a shark with a blowhole, which is weird. But so it was kind of like a hybrid whale shark creature. But Clanker kind of counts, and Clanker is what I alluded to earlier. He's what I alluded to earlier.
He's the whale shark.
Whale shark, sure, but he's what I alluded to earlier when I said there's like one shark who's friendly, and that's Clanker. Clanker's a sweetheart. Clanker's a big, gentle giant, and you free Clanker, and then eventually you see in Banjo Pilot that Clanker is out of the cavern, and he's now in a river above the cavern called Clanker's River. Although I think Nuts and Bolts establishes he's a dead husk by the time Nuts and Bolts. So his happiness is short lived, but at the very least he got to spend his final years in peace and sunshine. So here's to you, Clanker. I don't know if Clanker is canonically dead or not. I forget the context of the Clanker homage in Nuts and Bolts. I don't know if it was supposed to be just a model of Clanker in like Banjo Land, or if it was actually supposed to be the remains of Clanker.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah. It's not like we need to be hyper specific about anything here on the Kongversation. It's not like that's our style or anything. We spent 20
maybe that's
minutes
what our Nuts
about...
and Bolts Spotlight episode is, just trying to remember details and just like,
I know. Well, Nuts and Bolts is the Banjo game I have played the least. And I've come around on it. I acknowledge it is a very good game. It's just not what the fans want at the time. But the problem is it came out during a time. It's kind of like the blind spot as far as my DKU knowledge goes. That whole time period of the late aughts, right before Donkey Kong Country Returns, because that was when like Chad and I were living in Los Angeles, and it was just we were kind of going away. We were moving away from all of this nonsense, and it was Returns that pulled us back in. Little did we know for the rest of our lives, but yeah, that whole era is just kind of one big knowledge gap, and I'm trying to like do my best, but then we keep having new stuff come out constantly now, and it's hard to go back. So anyway, Clanker, he may or may not be dead, but if he is, rest in peace, Clanker. Thank you for all the memories. Moving on. Conker. The Conker series has sharks, David. Did you know that?
yes. Well, let's talk about those sharks.
Did you know that just because I sent you the show notes, or did you legitimately remember that?
Yes. I mean, who could forget the Mako Islands from Conker's Pocket Tales?
Okay, so I forgot about this until this week because I was trying to because on Twitter I've also been doing like these daily Sharks of the Rare Archipelago hashtag Sharks of the Rare Archipelago, which I realized after the fact should have been like the Rare Sharkipelago or something like that. But when you already have
hijack the Shark Week hashtag.
I am also utilizing a Shark Week hashtag too. But so I've been doing like here's a daily shark, and I was racking my brain. I was like, were there sharks in Conker? Well, not Bad Fur Day, but Pocket Tales. And I was like, I vaguely recall something, but I had to go back and check. And yeah, sure enough, there are sharks. And I don't know why I never made the connection. Mako Islands, the Mako shark. So yeah, we never see the actual design of these sharks. We only see their fins when you're in the water in the Mako Islands trying to get all the boat bits to take back to Ted the boat builder, beloved icon of the video game industry. Ted the boat builder for Smash. Make it happen, people. Get that hashtag trending on the Twitters. Get it going. Ted, the boat builder, the acorn person, from Conqueror. No, not that Conqueror.
Yeah,
the other
like
Conqueror.
From those TED Talks.
No, not that Conqueror.
Everybody saw.
Yeah, right. He's from like the the fourth most well-known Conquer game. So come on, how do you not know Ted the Boat Builder? You know, Ted from Mako Islands, the nut.
Actually, the fifth most
nut.
well known, because you got I think it's less well known than Young Conquer.
Oh,
projects.
Well, okay, I forgot about Young Conquer. So maybe it's more well known. Well, obviously, it's more well known for us. Conquer's Pocket Tales was probably more well known than Bad Fur Day is for us because we're sick deviants. But yeah, maybe Young Conquer, just based on notoriety alone, would be more well known than Pocket Tales at this point. So yeah, fifth. And if you count Diddy Kong Racing, then sixth, and it's bottom of the barrel.
I guess Project Spark is a separate game from Conquer's Big Reunion.
Seventh.
I mean, it's a game within a game,
okay.
So you know.
Yeah, seventh. Yeah. You can, because you can play Conquer in the main like story mode of Project Spark. So seventh most well known Conquer game, Ted the Boat Builder from Mako Island. You only know he's called Ted because in the color version of the game, he's got the sign that says Ted Boats.
Yes, I know. We all know about Ted the Boat Builder, but we're here to talk about sharks, not boat building acorns.
You know, Batman has a boat. He has a couple boats. I think Lucius Fox built his boats, but now Lucius Fox is kind of tainted because Morgan Freeman is kind of a creep, maybe, but who isn't anymore? So Batman.
Yeah, well, okay. So
there's really not much to say about these goddamn sharks, David, because in Conquer the Mako sharks, and look, I've thought long and hard about this. I haven't slept at all this week because I've been thinking. Are the Mako sharks that you can't see, but they have kind of purplish fins and they chase Conquer? Are the Mako sharks like actually aligned with Evil Acorn, or are they just like wildlife who, like you mentioned earlier, could just be chasing Conquer because they're sharks? And here's a little furry mammal from the forest swimming around in the ocean, and they're just
bleeding all over the water.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Evil Acorn, for as evil as he is, and as devious as he is, and as maniacal as a plotter as he is, would really have the time to train a bunch of Mako sharks to attack Conquer. Because you gotta think, he's thinking, I want to abduct Barry, the child actress who I am obsessed with because I'm a big weirdo creep. But not as much of a creep as Baron von Ghoul, but I'm pretty close in on the creep scale. So I've got to come up with a plan to kidnap this chipmunk actress that I'm obsessed with. I'm an evil nut, by the way. So what I'm going to do is Barry's friend Conquer, his birthday is coming up. This is before social media, so I don't even know how I know this, but I'm an evil acorn, and I'm a good detective like the Batman, and I'm going to find out that Conquer's birthday...
IMDb or something was a thing.
Yeah, but even then, why would Conquer be on IMDb? Like the Rare Archipelago version of IMDb. Why would he be on that?
Barry would.
Sure. Barry would, but what, in trivia... Barry is friends with a random squirrel named Conquer. Conquer's birthday is this date. Like, sure, Conquer helped liberate Timbers Island from the evil space genie Whizpig, sure. Well, but even then, he was just one of many. It's like the people in Iwo Jima with the flag. Like, you're not gonna know like their birthday, like one of their birthdays. Especially in the 90s.
Well, if they're dating a child star off of picture seen in Rusty Bucket Bay.
Okay, but Conquer and Barry were not dating at this point. They started dating after the evil acorn hopped out of the cake and went blah, blah, and kidnapped Barry. Because then Conquer rescued her, and then Barry was like, "Oh, Conquer," and then Conquer was like, "Oh, Barry," and then they had that moonlight stroll around the lake. And then they developed their toxic relationship that ultimately resulted in them just like embracing the worst Ayn Randian philosophies, objectionist like ideas that Zack Snyder probably espoused in Batman v Superman, and then Barry gets killed and Conquer just descends into a lifetime of depression and alcoholism. So this is before all that, though. So
this information, a creepy stalker, so he knows.
He's okay. So he's hiding in the bushes and he's making notes. Okay, I can justify that. So he comes up with this plan. Well, there's gonna be a big cake. I have to make sure the Conqueror has a big cake, and maybe I have to like plant this idea in Barry's head to get Conqueror this big cake, a big stripper cake that I can pop out of and kidnap him. But I also have to steal all the presents, and I have to get these chomp plants to behave. He's not going to have time to train some Mako sharks on the Mako Island. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. As much as of a big evil acorn fan as I am, if I learned one thing from the Joker trying to kill Mr. Freeze in that one Robin miniseries, this is Tim Drake Robin, not fuck Batman Dick Grayson era Titans Robin. Okay, but then Joker murdered Mr. Freeze. I think it was like Robin 2 was the miniseries, but then Mr. Freeze came back when John Paul Valley took over it as Batman in the Night Quest storyline. Mr. Freeze woke up in the morgue, and because he was in the refrigerator, and that revived him, and he like woke up and he was like blah, and they brought back Mr. Freeze because the Batman animated series episode Heart of Ice made Mr. Freeze popular again, and in the comics they had already killed Mr. Freeze off, and they were like, oh shit, we need to revive Mr. Freeze. Here's how are we going to do it? Okay, let's do it. And then Mr. Freeze came back in the comics, and they gave him the animated series origin, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger played him.
They gave him an Austrian accent with bad puns. Yeah.
Right, and then Shaquille O'Neal played Steel the same year as that happened. So, and then he goes to Shark Week, so it comes full circle. So,
anyway, so maybe like Bizarro Aquaman trained the sharks.
Bizarro Aquaman.
Oh wait, actually, the Bizarro version of Aquaman would only talk to land animals, right?
Yeah. So I know there are Bizarro versions of Aquaman, and they have appeared in numerous Superman comics, but I don't know if he's ever if it's been like, well, shouldn't Bizarro Aquaman be Land Woman? Really? If we're doing full on opposites. But then he shouldn't even be human. He should be
a fish that lives on the land that only talks to land animals.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes, Land Woman should be a fish or squid or some creature that lives on land and only talks to land animals.
Is there a Bizarro version of Green Arrow called Bizarro?
No.
And why not?
Well, I know like the Bizarro version of Green Lantern. There's been a couple, but eventually it was Yellow Lantern, and he was part of the Sinestro Corps then. And oh god, this is stupid. So Conker's Bad Fur Day did not have sharks, as previously mentioned, but there was a Jaws parody, which was something. So it was with the dogfish that chases Conker. He gets off his chain, and he's well, was that a Jaws parody? There's a minor Jaws homage, but I think it was also a parody of the 1998 Godzilla movie when he's like coming up, like the dock is being destroyed, and then he's chomping. Anyway, that's as close as Conker's Bad Fur Day came to having a shark, which is a shame because they have the part where you swim in poo, and then you could have a lactose intolerant shark who ate cheese and then, as it were. So Donkey Kong 64 did not have sharks, David. I've thought long and hard
Donkey
about
Kong 64
this.
sucks, so moving on.
Yeah, but Gloomy Galleon, you would think they would incorporate some chomps in there, right? Nope.
But they didn't.
They didn't, no. No, they did have Shuris and Puffed Ups and no sharks. No sharks. Donkey Kong Country Returns then. Jumping all the way 11 years later. Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Well, there's the Sushi who later appeared in, Mario Party 3,
yes.
Mario Party 4, Mario Party 7, Mario Party 9, Mario Hoops 3-on-3.
We all love Super Mario
GP,
Wiki,
DX.
David.
Yes.
I appreciate you reading off the appearances list on Super Mario Wiki. Our
No,
friends.
definitely.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've memorized this thing. I know Mario Kart 8 GP DX better than I know Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, apparently.
Apparently you do. Yeah. Donkey Kong Country Returns. So 2010 Retro takes over the series, and they don't bring back any villains from the past. None. It's the Tiki Tak tribe, and they brainwash the native wildlife of Donkey Kong Island. But not like the animal buddies. Not anybody you would know. Just
Right.
all
Donkey Kong's good friend Thugly.
Yes, Thugly and Mugly, of course. Yes, those classic friends of Kong, or Fox, Fockers, if you want to talk about milk and nipples. Donkey Kong Country Returns introduced the newest shark antagonist and the most prominent shark antagonist of the Donkey Kong series in this decade. And that would be Snaggles the Shark. Now, Snaggles the Shark, they first appear in the beach World 2, what we would call the Congo Beach in Donkey Kong Country Returns. The problem with having a shark nemesis in this game is that there are no underwater portions at all. You do not swim one bit in this game. So what Snaggles do, David, is they, in this game, they jump out of the water and try to bite you. And so Snaggles, they look like assholes. Not like literal assholes. They don't like resemble a gaping anus. They just look awful. I don't hate Snaggles. Don't get me wrong. Like when I'm critiquing their design, I critique the designs of Chomps. No, I didn't. I just said they look like real sharks, but with goofy cartoon eyes.
Yeah.
And I like Chomps.
Snaggles look like cartoony sharks with realistic eyes. I don't know.
No, they just look like assholes.
Still cartoony.
Yeah, no, they're much more cartoony than Chomps. They their proportions are like a lot zanier. They have crooked teeth. They have like they look deranged a little bit. They look like I don't know, like the kind of sharks you would see in a DreamWorks film, I think.
Like Shark Tale?
Probably. Don't quote me on that because I've never seen Shark Tale. So, what? But I don't know. They fit in well with the, I guess, aesthetic and design philosophies of Returns, and you know, I don't hate. Like I said, I don't hate Snaggles. They're fine. I remember being a little bit perturbed that Donkey Kong Country Returns introduced plants named Chomp, and then they had entirely new sharks named Snaggles. Just like, well, why didn't you just use the sharks that were there? But upon reflection, David, I made peace with it by realizing, well, the Kremlings aren't in this game. Ergo, why would they bring the Chomps along? If this game is about the Tiki Tak tribe brainwashing the native wildlife of Donkey Kong Island to attack the Kongs, then you know what? Snaggles it is. Snaggles makes sense. As much as I would have liked a reference to, you know, more classic elements in Returns besides Billy Mitchell and his tie, I made peace with Snaggles. And, you know, why wouldn't there be non-Kremlin crew sharks swimming around the waters of DK Island? Of course there would be. Of course there would be. So,
I would have liked it if they, you know, actually did more stuff with actual characters that already existed, but like, I don't know, we can have like 2 sharks, 3 sharks.
You know, like there's more than one. Like it would be like complaining that you, like, one time you got attacked by a great white shark, and then you get attacked 10 years later by a hammerhead, and you're like, well, this is stupid. Why can't I just get attacked by a great white shark again? So stupid, nature. Fuck you, nature. Well, just use the elements you've already attacked me with. Why are you bringing out a whole new shark to attack me with? It would have been great if, like, Snaggles could be more something unique that we haven't seen before, really, like a hammerhead, something visually distinct, but Snaggles are fine. And I really liked Snaggles in Tropical Freeze, where you actually do swim underwater and Snaggles actually chase you. This is where Snaggles actually do have a fin up on the Chomps species, because Chomps, like I said, they just swim back and forth in a pretty bland pattern. Here in Tropical Freeze, Snaggles chase you whenever you're in the water, a la Snacker, except these guys don't disappear. You just have to deal. And Snaggles will still jump out of the water when applicable to try to get you, but when you're in the water, they'll chase you. And I thought that really helped sell the concept of Snaggles to me and made me appreciate them. And it made me appreciative that, Retro used something that was already seen in Tropical Freeze. Granted, it was just characters they invented for the previous game, but I'll take what I can get. And I got Snaggles, and you know what? I'm fine with Snaggles. You can quote me on that. That can be on my tombstone when I die, after I become an elderly person and I got to play my Cranky Kong solo game. You can quote me on my tombstone. I'm fine with Snaggles. Hyle Russell.
Should be like on the cover of the Tropical Freeze Switch version. Like if they decide to like put a player's choice release. I'm fine with Snaggles. Hyle Russell, DK Vine. Right on the front cover.
Michael Kelbal, if you are listening to this, I give you permission. Seriously, that should be legally binding. I say that is legally binding. You can use that quote however you see fit.
That'll be the entire cover.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. Look, I will not sue. I will not ask for any monetary compensation. Let the world know I am just fine with Snaggles. Like the Doobie Brothers and Jesus, Snaggles is just all right with me. And I know that's not the first time I've made a joke like that, but like Retro, I ran out of enemies and I'm just reusing my old ones at this point. But they'll chase you this time.
Be like that 10 out of 10 cover from Batman Arkham City where like you can barely see the game's logo for 10 out of 10 Game of the Year review quotes.
I mean, it's really only 9 out of 10 because the Great White Shark wasn't in that one. They do reference the Great White Shark in Arkham Asylum in like one of the case files you can read, but he doesn't actually show up in the game, which I think maybe like there's some like elements, like some reference to him, like you can go into a cell or something, but he's not actually there. He's not like hanging around. You don't like get to fight him. You don't get to fight this white collar like corrupt financer and be like, Occupy Wall Street, kapow! Like, Bernie Sanders' message really resonates with me, Bruce Wayne, the billionaire. Biff! That would be the dialogue. So,
sorry, I was looking up the... never mind, this won't make much sense in an audio show, but I was looking up the 10 out of 10 cover for the Batman game. That was 10 out of 10.
Describe it to me, David. Describe it to me with your words.
It says, so there's the Xbox 360 banner as usual. Game of the Year edition, NTSC is the North American version. Then like says 10 out of 10, and then shows like a picture of like, and 5 out of 5, one of the greatest. And then you could kind of see the logo if you look closely at it. Anyway.
So Sea of Thieves, David. Here we are. Well, Sea of Thieves is a game with sharks.
Here, pass this on to the Twitch chat so that we can all look at the 10 out of 10 cover together. Anyway, so it'll be like that, only Snaggles is, I don't know. Yeah, that's what brought this on.
Oh, wow, that's a shit cover.
Yes.
What the fuck? That's garbage. It's hot garbage. All right.
Okay.
All right. Oh, I got to give it. You said pass it on to the Twitch chat. I'm doing that. Just Give me a damn second. Control V. All right. There we go.
And she also Photoshop up a Donkey Kong Country Snaggles is all right by us cover so that remember what brought this on.
like the bonus content, the Harley Quinn's Revenge. They could have Snaggles or Snacker's Revenge. Just bring Nintendo and Microsoft seem to be a lot chummier than they used to be. They're doing all sorts of like Twitter flirting as of late. They've been giving away like Switches on Mixer. It's really weird, but really cool to see. And so yeah, have Snacker's Revenge, but in a new version of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, because we need a third version, the Game of the Year version for the Switch version. In addition to new funky mode, we'll have Snacker's Revenge. But Snacker is confused, and he's looking for the bear milk, but he's got gorilla milk instead.
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, yeah. So as I've already mentioned, like Sea of Thieves cured me of my snacker phobia, and these sharks they appear to be great white sharks, and like I said, I know Sea of Thieves is not technically DKU yet, although it's clearly set in the same world, and it will be DKU in the future, either through TT, either through Captain Blackeye, either through Leaky, once they finally add Leaky the Bucket as one of the buckets in Sea of Thieves. Honestly, it's going to be all three, and then some, but until then, I know it's not DKU, but we're still going to talk about it because it's going to be DKU. It's just this waiting game, and even though the Tales from the Sea of Thieves book does have Captain Blackeye in it, and it does mention the Salty Hippo, and Captain Blackeye does physically appear, at least in the literature of Tales from the Sea of Thieves book, and we know that's actually canon. So we could, if we like at the end of the day, if Sea of Thieves like just stopped right now and we had a gun to our head, we could really like force through a justification for it being DKU through the Tales book, but we're not going to do that, and we won't have to do that. So
the thing is,
hey,
we're the ones who make the rules in the first place, so we can just change them.
But no, I mean we've got to stay true to the interpretations that were set out. We can't just change the rules based on a whim. I'm sure just saying. Okay, David, but this is no, we can't, because laws have meaning in these trying times, David. We need to look at what the founders intended. And yes, I know I'm a founder of DK Vine, but what did I really mean back in high school? I don't remember. I don't even remember nuts and bolts. I've got to interpret what I meant, and I can only do that so much. But anyway, the sharks that bite you in Sea of Thieves. I do like the designs of these guys. I like how, like everything in the Sea of Thieves world, the sharks here also look like ragged shit stains, where they look like they've been through hell. Like some of them even have harpoons still lodged in them, and they have scars, and they look like they've already seen battle. It's no wonder they always attack humans, because it seems like they've been provoked to the point of hostility. So if you have problems with the interpretations that sharks would just attack you for no reason, it's because they've been agitated to the point where they're going to attack humans sight unseen. It's like a dog who has been abused. You know, it will bite you, but it's not because the dog was born bad. It's because it was trained to have that behavior. So these sharks have been properly Michael Vicked to the point where they're going to be eating you. And of course, the Hungering Deep from a couple months ago at this point introduced the Megalodon, and there are multiple Megalodons in the game, but the Hungering Deep centered around the Hungering one, which was like the prime megalodon, and the biggest, the most fearsome one that takes 20 minutes to defeat. And,
or 8 hours, rather.
Well, okay, yes. It took us 8 hours, but I mean, if everything goes to plan and you actually get to T26 and you actually, like, nobody's trying to grief you, it would take about 15 to 20 minutes to properly defeat it. Anyway, what I liked about this prehistoric shark that was, like, in hibernation in this portion of the map is that when the character Merrick, the pirate character who woke it up accidentally and brought it back, when it awoke, all the sharks in Sea of Thieves, in the Sea of Thieves, they got wound up by the megalodon coming back. And I like that there's this implication that these sharks, like, look to the megalodon as kind of like almost like a queen bee of sorts. And so shark attacks were increasing, and there were, like, multiple sharks traveling in packs. You rarely ever just saw one during this time period leading up to the Hungering Deep. And now that the Hungering One was murdered by your pirate and your pirate's friends, there are multiple megalodon in the game, but they're smaller and they all have different behaviors. So some megalodons will not attack you unless you attack them first. Some megalodons will, like a dog chasing a car, just kind of swim around your ship and then just leave you alone, while other megalodons will just attack you out of nowhere. And I like that there's that unpredictability in the game, and that you never know what exactly is going to happen. So when you see a megalodon, you don't necessarily have to fire your cannon. It's not like a Kraken attack where, oh no, there's a megalodon, we have to, like, put our cannons on it, we need to kill it. There's just this little bit of unease where you don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's like how I would imagine actually encountering a shark while swimming in the ocean would be. But of course, with a entirely made up version of an actual prehistoric creature that has long been extinct. So, and that takes us to the present day, David. And Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battles Donkey Kong Adventure is out. And while there aren't actually sharks in the game, there are Rabbids, enemy Rabbids, who, like, take on the persona of land sharks, if I'm correct. Again, I haven't actually played it yet because I'm still trying to weigh my purchasing options in this game, because I don't know whether or not the European version of the physical gold edition that has Donkey Kong on the cover will ever be coming over to the Americas. And that is the version I want to buy. And if I can't buy that version, then I have to buy the best version that currently exists, which would be the collector's edition, which goes for over $100.
You could just buy the regular edition, then print out the European special edition cover.
That doesn't count, Dave. That's just made up. Like, that's me. Like, why would I ever make anything up in this fandom? I couldn't do it. I would never do that, David. I would never. And as you've heard throughout this entire episode thus far, I've never done that whatsoever. I've never made up anything ever to help bolster my fandom for these games.
I mean, it's pretty much the same game anyway. It's just buy the game in the DLC.
Yeah, what I could do is I could import the European copy, take just for the insert in the game case, take that out, put it in the US version. But the only thing is, then you don't have an ESRB rating on it. You have the PEGI weirdness, and that's weird to me as an American. That's foreign and bizarre. Plus, you know, again, with the new tariffs and everything, it would probably cost me even more to import that than it would be just buying the collector's edition. So,
well, you cut out the SRB rating from the American version and then, like, paste it over the European.
It's just it's made up. It's made up. I my brain can't tolerate that. My OCD brain cannot tolerate that. David, when I burned Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze to disc so I could put it physically in my Donkey Kong Universe collection, I had to use CDs that were manufactured by a company Nintendo has done business with in the past. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. That is how fucking diseased I am when it comes to making sure I do things by the letter. When we had Josh Wallen from Off the Geek Critique on the show, we were talking about the SNES Classic and the whole issue of why don't you just put Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3 on it? Why don't you just do it? Because it didn't come packaged like that. That wouldn't be real. That wouldn't be real to me. I have issues, David. I'm lactose intolerant. It causes me to have horrific diarrhea. And I also have slight OCD when it comes to matters such as this.
Oh, yeah. Plus the European one would be in like 3 other weird languages.
Yeah, like what is this weird language with like the Spanish and the French? Those languages. That's weird. Actually, they all come in those languages now. I guess the Europeans one would have German on it and like Dutch and stuff, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because the American ones do come in French and Spanish too, because they got tired of having to do different ones for Canada. And plus, you know, there are more people in our country, in the United States of America being our country, that speak Spanish. And maybe French now more than ever. So, yeah, it may make sense. But it does kind of make it harder to read.
I think the French is for Canada because it's easier than printing another cover just for Canadians.
Right, and this is why we had to rename our fries to Freedom Fries, because of the danger of cluttered game packaging. George W. Bush saw it coming. We mocked him back in 2003, but he knew what was coming. He knew that in 10 years... game packaging would be just indecipherable, and they wouldn't be able to put like actually any pertinent information on the back of the game case because it would all have to be translated in 3 different languages. He saw it coming and he was like, not on my watch. And then that was my George W. Bush impression. I haven't had to do that in a while. And then he and then he was like, we're gonna rename the fries to Freedom Fries. And then Bill Clinton was like, I love the French. I love French ladies, baby. I have a baguette I would like to stick in their bag. Because he's all about sex. Oh, Hammerhead
Barack
Sharks.
Obama said something.
Well, Barack Obama would be like, I'm Barack Obama, and I've never really done an Obama impression before.
You had 8 years to get this right.
I almost say as much as the Hyle Russell from Off of the Kongversation. If you listen to any Kongversation episode, you'll get distracted by all the as he's trying to think of things to say about the sharks of the Donkey Kong universe.
I do get
I'm Bill Clinton, baby. I got a boner. So anyway,
turning into scrambled eggs.
Anyway, Hammerheads, the land shark. I know there's a boss Side-Eye, I think. Side-Eye, I think is the name of the rabbit with the hammerhead hat on him, in Donkey Kong Adventure. But I wouldn't know for absolute certainty because, again, I still don't know how to fucking buy this game. Davide Soliani has given me just this really complex problem. As a Donkey Kong fanatic, I don't know how to get around it. Like, I've never been faced with such a conundrum.
DLC, but as we've previously established, that apparently won't do.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten around to playing it because I can't be bothered, I guess.
You can't be bothered, right? So, because Ringo Starr, of course, only sang about octopuses, and, of course, or octopi, and, of course, Squid Month isn't
Octopodes.
until yeah. So Andre Godzilla Guy 92 adds that adds this about sharks in the Donkey Kong universe. He says, "Unzip my pants and I'll give you a look at my hammerhead, baby." I just like doing the voice, honestly. Like there's nothing substantive about it. There's nothing like politically savvy. Like I'm not making any like zingers about like, oh, take that, Bill Clinton, president of the 1990s. I'm just. He was a horny dude, and he cheated on his wife, and his wife had emails. So we do have a call to take. about shark. Surprisingly enough, David, we have a call to take about sharks of the Donkey Kong universe. So,
hey there, Angry Incester here. When I was a little kid, me and my dad, I used to go fishing with my dad. And this one night, it was super late, probably like 10 or 11 at night. It was probably like 9. And we caught a sand shark. It was a big sand shark. I thought it was so cool, man. I was jumping around, pointing at it, laughing. I thought it was so sick. It was pretty big. My dad pulled it up on shore. The moonlight was reflecting off of its menacing eyeballs. And I just really wanted to take it home. I wanted to, show my mom, get some pictures in the light. My dad was really unsure about it. He just wanted to throw it back. That's the right thing to do. But I won him over, and we ended up taking it home. Took a bunch of pictures with my mom. It was so cool. A great night. Great memory. But, my dad ended up just stuffing the shark in like a garbage bag and just allowing it to suffocate and die slowly on its own. And at the time, I didn't really realize how fucked up that was, but I kind of think it's a great analogy to this podcast. For someone who's really naive, it seems like a really cool, great thing, super fun. You take it home, you cherish it, but little do you know at the time it's suffering and dying. And years later, you realize what a terrible, terrible idea it was. Anyways, is Snacker a drone? Because I'm not, he seems to get around Treasure Trove Cove really fast. So, is there only one or is there multiple? There's also another Snacker in Rusty Bucket Bay. His dialogue kind of implies that he's, a singular character. But is he a drone? Could the potential appearance of Snacker in Sea of Thieves make that game finally DKU? I don't know, just a thought. Love the show, love you guys. Have a great Shark Week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.
thank you for the call. I guess, Angry Ancestor, he just did compare our podcast to a dying shark, but I guess that is fair because clearly he knew what was going to come. He hadn't even heard this episode yet when he called in, but he saw what was going to happen. He's a visionary, that Angry Ancestor. I do have a question for you though, and I know you already called in and whatever, so you can't really answer this episode, but when you and your dad took that sand shark home and as it was slowly suffocating, did it try to suck your teeth? Like did it try to get milk from you? Because we're trying to answer this question about Snacker, who, yes, is a singular character and not a drone. Does Snacker crave the lactic or lactose juices of a mammal? And if so, do all sharks? And you had a golden opportunity there, Angry Ancestor. You could have tried nursing it back to health with your nipples, and you didn't do that. And maybe that sand shark would still be alive today. There's no way to know. We can't turn back time. We're not Cher or Mumbo Jumbo, and we can't go backwards in time. But if we could, this is what I would want to know. So thank you for the call, and a happy Shark Week to you. And
okay, there are also sharks in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS on the sides of Tortimer Island sometimes. So, yeah, that's another shark.
Yeah, but
that I forgot about until just now.
I don't really care. Like, everything appears in Super Smash Brothers except K. Rool. So what is it? What is it like? Oh yeah, a shark appeared in Super Smash Brothers. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Well, so does this elfin boy, and so does a bounty hunter from the future, and so does...
we can cover that on Bounty Hunter from the Future Week.
So, I mean, there's like an angel in the game, and there's like a dark angel, and then there's I don't know, like yeah, okay, of course there'd be a shark somewhere in Smash Brothers. There's a duck and a dog and turtle creatures, multiple turtle creatures. So, David, as we wind down this Shark Week, this is the last day of Shark Week, and I think it's time for Shark Week closing ceremonies. And really, I didn't know what to do for Shark Week closing ceremony, because we just talked about all the sharks in the Donkey Kong universe, minus whatever appears in Super Smash Brothers.
No, we just did.
Well, we just did, but we didn't really discuss it. Like, we really went in depth with some of these sharks. I mean, I feel like the Mako sharks from Conker's Pocket Tales have never been done justice until now. Like they've never gotten such a comprehensive discussion in their name until we came along with this episode. I can say that is a fact. Like, nobody's ever discussed the sharks from off of Conker's Pocket Tales like we have just discussed the sharks from off of Conker's Pocket Tales. Really, nobody's discussed Conker's Pocket Tales.
Well, the thing is, the shark in Tortimer Island, you only see the fin, so it's kind of ambiguous what kind of shark. Is it a whale shark, a regular shark, a hammerhead shark? We need to add all those to the big old drones list when we bring it back.
We do, yes, because people love the list. People love those big lists. People love, like, the list of items we used to have on the website. It listed
like
all of the
Mario
flags.
Golf flag.
All the flags in Mario Golf. Flag number 13. No, it's the end of Shark Week, so I thought, what is really, like, the root of our fascination with sharks? And in the modern day, that would be Jaws, the first summer blockbuster. And I'm only really familiar with the movie Jaws, which is an all-time classic. And it's, like I said, it's the film that made Steven Spielberg's career. Steven Spielberg later gave us Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which was super racist. And I realized that, but I still like it. I don't like the racism, but I like the mine carts, and he gave us
Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yes, and he gave us Schindler's
and
List.
Ready Player One.
Right. Ready Player One, I'm starting to regret Jaws giving Steven Spielberg a career now. But anyway, I'm whatever. Jaws is super expensive. We can't play any clips from it. Whatever, YouTube would shut us down. But then I thought, hey, Jaws was actually based on a novel. Not a lot of people know that. 1974, I believe, is when the Jaws novel came out. It was written by Peter Benchley. And I've never read the novel, but I imagine it's just like the book, or it's just like the movie. I imagine the Jaws novel is basically a word-for-word, basically proto-script for the Steven Spielberg movie. So I thought I would do a dramatic reading from a passage from Jaws to close out this episode. So even though Shark Week is over, we can have the excitement and the fire, the passion for sharks throughout the rest of the summer. So I used a computer program to help pinpoint the page in the original novel that has the most action. So clearly this is going to be like when they're on the boat and the shark's attacking and they stick the air tank in the shark's mouth and they fire the gun and blow it up. That was the most action packed part of the movie. So here you go, shark fans. This is the most thrilling page of Jaws according to this computer program. I just ran it through, and this features Richard Dreyfuss's character Hooper and the character of Ellen Brody. Ellen started to giggle again, imagining the sight of Hooper lying by the side of the road, stiff as a flagpole, and herself lying next to him, her dress bunched up around her waist and her vagina yawning open, glistening wet for the world to see.
This has been a File 2 production.
I knew it was Shark Week, but I don't think that's why it smells like fish in here.